All right. So I'm struggling right now. I don't remember almost anything of what we discussed on Tuesday outside of the fact that we were anticipating EU to potentially reverse. But let's actually, yes. Let's actually look at this because it's super interesting to note that we have finally seen a sort of dip. As you can see, usually when we start to see price start to top out, we see a very significant set of continuation BOS, whereas in comparison here you see continuation BOS, right? But they're essentially quick reactions into the opposite direction, whereas here we sustain ourselves. And by that, you could just refer to the size of the wicks and the size of the bodies. So what I'm acknowledging now is that we are seeing, right, these potential continuation BOSs, and if next week, right, which is kind of what I'm sort of leaning towards, is to continuation to the downside. If we are to take this out, that is extremely significant. Why? Because if we are referencing solidified highs and lows, obviously we know where our swing low is. Right, so if we go from our swing low into our high, into our low, into our high, and why is this significant? Because we took out we have a continuation BOS here, and we didn't really have any significant continuation BOS up until here, meaning that this is technically our swing high, but from an internal sense, we have this, and let me actually reference this as well. I'm actually going to do a different color for the internal. The internal here would be technically this would be the internal. So we know our swing is technically bullish, our internal is technically bullish, right? Our minor intraday is technically bearish internally, and we correlated that on Tuesday with EURUSD with this potential reaction here, which is what we've gotten, but we'll come back to that. But with this, all right, what I'm starting to note now is if we are to break right, I'm going to put this as our bullish invalidation. If we are to break this next week, if we are to break this next week, this is extremely significant. Why? Because this would now confirm a swing. Oh, sorry about that. Swing and swing LG, right? And we could probably see that better from the daily. That would confirm a type of swing LG, and we have not seen anything like this in a very, very long time. I can't even point anything out in terms of where we could potentially see another type of bullish, a bearish LG within this bearish trend. Maybe we can know, because I'm trying to acknowledge, right, all of our swing points, right? Swing points, swing points. Swing points, swing points, swing points. We have not seen anything significant based on swing solidified highs and lows. So now if we are to see a major swing solidified low be taken out, that's extremely alerting in terms of, you know, a long-term thing. So if that is to happen, right, this would signify that the swing in terms of the gray here is potentially converting into a bearish sense. If that is to happen, and we are then to take out the blue line, then the overall direction of this could really begin to turn. And that would mean that we have solidified low into a high. And technically from a higher time frame standpoint, that is technically a continuation BOS from a macro sense. However, that is extremely important, because if we are to get that, then if we get, you know, a macro pullback, any type of transition back into a macro bullish sense would signify, you know, an extremely big trade. Because let's say we are to, right? Create a brand new move. And mind you, this move took over a year. It took a year, July, September. It took about 14 months to complete this entire move. And that is very, very big. And this is where you get, you know, these longer term biases, because there's been a lot of you that have been just selling EU based on this continuation internally. So I don't necessarily think this is gonna melt, but if this is to, you know, like how we always do, if this then that, if this is to create the internal LG and then solidify the entire range, the entire macro range, then we are, you know, potentially seeing opportunities for a really, really big conversion. And by conversion, I mean a bearish pullback into a bullish continuation. And that is, you know, extremely big in my opinion. But in my opinion, as of now, the only things we can really rely on is the fact that we've already solidified this. We know this is our bearish invalidation internally. So as of now, I can really only assume that we are going to potentially continue lower. And then once we get here into this area, obviously we have a counter POI here. Let me see. We do have a counter POI here, which could be referenced in the near future. So we're just going to reference that out. And the reason why this is important is because we do have liquidity sitting here, right? Relative equal low 1, relative equal low 2, relative equal low 3. So if there is obviously the counter scenario where we have liquidity sitting, liquidity is built up as fuel here. We have a counter POI that is still technically bullish. So this could at least confirm some sort of reaction to the upside, even if we are to continue bearish in the longer run. But as of now, I can only really assume that we're going to continue higher. And if we start to reference EU from that, let me see, 30 minutes. We did acknowledge, I believe it was a monthly, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, a monthly here. We acknowledge the monthly POI, the monthly wick, and this, you know, is showing validity by converting from a swing sense. Ooh. Sorry. What? Okay. Anyways. Okay, I don't know what just happened there. Anyways, we know that there is validity with that POI because we have gotten the swing reaction here. And as we zoom in deeper, we know that we've solidified the low here. So we have a bullish transition here. And so now relatively the main point of interest that we have to know is here. Also, you can, you know, acknowledge the type of counter POI because technically this is from high to low, this is technically still bearish. And because we have taken out the final leg into the downside, we do understand that that has solidified the range. However, I'm trying to look at this from a just an overall sense here. And something that is important that I'm going to know is the fact that we have not created a substantial new low. We have taken liquidity, we have built a transition, and we have given a reaction based on a monthly POI. So that is essentially a big reason for me as to why we could potentially begin to convert. And if we are to get something big here, then realistically, this is considered a discount internally. Right, discount internally in terms of the full range. I don't think it could potentially be as well. But if we are to get this transition here and we are to get a strong reaction, I don't see this continuously making, you know, deep retracements and then continuing higher. So if this move is to sustain itself and you are to get an entry here, then you're looking at a pretty big move. And the reason why I'm also not really considering much on the bearish side anymore is because I don't necessarily see why this is continuing lower. Even from DXY, the DXY looks more bearish and this looks bullish in my opinion. And we did not tap structure, but we did confirm order flow disruption. So we do have the order flow disruption here, which I'm going to note. We have order flow disruption here. That has presented itself. We did not tap structure, but we are continuing lower. So I'm much more inclined to see what happens in this relative area and essentially, you know, see a pretty big conversion, because this could relatively be showing its hand for then, you know, creating a massive impulse to the upside. But yeah, the only thing that is, in my opinion, just kind of causing a bit of doubt is that within this, we are not really reacting from anything. We're not really reacting from anything here outside of potentially not even the inefficiency fill completely, and the 50% isn't necessarily anything that's too accurate here. But when I'm looking at this, excuse me, when I'm looking at this, I don't necessarily see any big thing as to what this could be reacting from, right? Not even the 6 month there. This is probably the only thing that can make possible sense. So even though that may not be fully supported, the main thing that I'm noticing here is because we are looking at internal reactions, the internal reaction has been shown. So anything that happens here could relatively give us, you know, a lot deeper pricing. But yeah, like we said, if we are to get that transition, then we are to see what happens, you know, in the POI that we had just acknowledged. AU, this is a bit of a messy one, because we had talked about how, I believe, the change of character that we had pointed out. Yeah, we had the change of character, and that inefficiency fill led to this. We had a strong reaction to the upside. We have a now very, very strong reaction to the upside based on today internally. So as of now, this one has essentially shown to me that we could potentially get upward reactions. However, this red line is not my bearish invalidation. This red line is a continuation BOS. Right, so now this, right, has now solidified our high into our low. This is the first time we're seeing a major continuation BOS. However, from an internal sense, this could be considered bullish. Why? Because from the internal sense, this is a continuation BOS, and then this has now been taken out. So you can essentially infer that this is a potential LG. So that seems a lot more comfortable for me. The only reason I would continue to sell this was if we were to come back a little bit higher. But as of right now, following the DXY bias, I would like to see, right, a potential dip into the downside. I mean, into the upside. A potential dip to the downside and a move into the upside. That's just what makes sense to me right now. And yeah, that's pretty much going to conclude today. The bias could be essentially converting from DXY. EU, it already has converted in my opinion, and we stated that case on Tuesday. And if we are to get this, then this is a pretty big move. I think this would probably be a good zoom to fall back on, just seeing this reaction completely play out. But does anybody have any questions today? Weekly internal liquidity position. We're about to close below it on DXY. Yep, it's not looking good for the bullish bias anymore. And what's cool is at least we could see this begin to be challenged again. What do you think about current PA on EU? What do you think about current PA on EU? You guys know I don't validate signals. I don't validate anything internally. So what do you think? Looks like a Friday. Yep. That's the best way to put it. Let me see. So you're saying this is a reversal BOS. Yep. Only because of the internal, right? By that I mean this was a continuation BOS, and then this was continuation BOS, and then this was reversal BOS. So now you're kind of saying the same thing, right? Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Only thing I don't like about this is this one is extremely clear that there is a reaction there, that, and that. Therefore, the only thing that's alerting me here is what can happen here. But yeah, I do like that. I do like that. However, if you are like, there's two scenarios. One, you get a bearish transition here, or two, you get a bullish structural disruption within here, meaning you get a bullish structural disruption, a failed reaction, and that would make sense if you get the failed reaction because you have order flow supporting it and you have liquidity supporting it, and then you have this supporting it. So that would make a lot of sense if you get a bullish structural disruption here. 15-second. Okay, how does this apply, or how does this correlate to what we were just talking about? Because based on just this alone, I can see failed reaction, and then I can see potential POI here. So this could, just based on structure alone, this could realistically continue lower. The only thing that I don't like is that you're specifically pointing out 15 seconds and this looks extremely corrective. That's the only thing that I don't like about potentially trading that. So are you gonna send the 1 minute or no? Let's see. Yeah, like I said, the only thing that I didn't like about this was that you're trying to nitpick this and you're not acknowledging that this is extremely corrective. So this is where we apply order flow. So this could look like a strong order flow from a 15-second standpoint, but if you zoom out, this looks extremely corrective. And two, you have a potential swing low here. This is where the potential bullish reaction occurred. That had failed based on unwillingness. So you have this continuations lower. However, there is 1, 2, 3, 4 mitigations in play, and you cannot take out a significant low. So that is, in my opinion, weak order flow. And that could be, you know, considered just corrective movement. But yeah, does anybody have any questions? Anything you guys want to go over today? I wonder, something weird. Let me actually see something. GBPUSD. Weird. The queen passing away did not affect this at all. I just thought that was something interesting. Yeah, like a lot of crazy swing opportunities are setting up. Yeah, they are. Yeah, I do find it weird that the queen passing away did not affect this at all. If anything, this is going to start rocketing up, which is kind of funny. I do see this coming up to at least back up here. It's the only thing that makes sense. This looks like corrective nature towards a bullish sense. That already tried to go up and it failed, but now that this has come up, then that is considered an LG. So low, high, retracement, up. Yep, at least there, yeah, that makes sense. I like this as a target because this is where kind of the character changed. You could see strong impulsive move, but then you see correctiveness. Yeah, also for the people who have, I haven't really been thinking too much about this, but the people who have been watching the Zooms, I mentioned that we should like name the course a certain way, but I still have zero clue what I would want to do. Like, what do you name a trading course that revolves around reactions and character? Because if you were to really summarize RCV, in my opinion, outside of like structure and solidified points, I would say that the majority of how we trade is relative to reactions and changes of character. That's kind of the two main things, right? Because analyzing reactions is how you build a model, and analyzing reactions could also dictate a bias. Because think about it, order flow disruption, structural disruption, liquidity grabs are all types of reactions. And then what decomposes, or if you decompose that to, you know, a conceptual basis, that's where SE and efficiency, order flow, structure comes into play. That's kind of where those are essentially the concepts. LG, order flow disruption, structural disruption are kind of the models based on those concepts. But yeah, I would have zero idea how to name this. Zero idea. Yeah, it's a thinking process for sure. I don't know. I'd like it to be catchy, but I'd like to be able to make the title be a general summarization of the course kind of thing. But yeah, it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard. I feel like I'm not creative on that sense. Yeah, but does anybody have any more questions they'd like to go over? Excuse me. Cool, but yeah, I'm going to probably do journals later today. If not, I should be having them done by tomorrow. So yeah, if you guys need anything, definitely let me know, and I'll see you guys on Tuesday.